Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and yes, the title of this video is a little facetious. I did that purely to mess with a few buddies of mine who are into powerlifting, and some of them are writers and everything, and they get really upset when people make that line, talking about the real world. There's no whatever in the jungle. There's no knee wraps in the jungle, and there's no belts in the jungle, and it's they say that, then these guys are kind of like, yeah, but there's also no injectable testosterone in the jungle or calibrated plates or deadlift bars either, you jackass. So they get kind of upset when people say that. So that's done just as kind of a poke at that. But the idea is kind of the same when it comes to developing real world strength. And it's something I thought of when I posted that video of me having to break loose a lug nut, actually 4 lug nuts, on a friend of ours who called us. He was stranded on the side of the road, and we came over to help him. And my girlfriend just filmed it real quick on her phone. We weren't expecting to have to do that, so we didn't, take a real camera or anything. And it reminded me of that, though, of real world strength. And for the record, a bunch of people commented on there, well, why didn't you just stand on it? The guy who owns the car already tried that on all 4 of them and jumped on top of his lug wrench, and they wouldn't break free. And he's actually heavier than I am. So with me weighing less, I don't see how that would have worked. I actually had to pull on him. But that aside, you guys notice I got stuck in a situation to where I had to grip something much smaller and more hard on my hands than an actual barbell. And it was difficult and painful for my hands, and it required a tremendous amount of grip strength on my part in order to do that. And it was just a real world activity that came up. A good friend of ours, he was unable to do it himself, and he just wasn't strong enough to actually do it because they had been over tightened, and it looked like actually there was some threads shearing off of those, but it was a situation that arose. Things like this happen all the time, and when you lift weights, you work out, you're in shape, you become advantageous to have as a friend or a family member at that point. And the truth is, real world strength, everything that we do in the gym doesn't always carry over into actual real world activities, whether it's something that comes up like that where someone really needs help, or it's some sort of manual labor that you need to do, or even an emergency situation. Because let's just be honest, the world that we live in today, with everything from terrorist attacks and everything else that happens to major traffic accidents, there could very well be situations to where you are going to have to use the absolute limits of your physical strength to either help yourself or maybe save the life of an innocent person somewhere else. And in those moments, when they do happen, they happen all the time. They may not happen to you personally, but those things do happen every single day around the world. And they happen to random people. And having all the well-rounded strength that you need to carry over into the real world could actually make the difference between saving someone's life or not in some rare situations, or it could just be a simple case of being able to change an over-tightened lug nut on a wheel. But there's a wide variety of things that can come up in life to where it's useful to have strength. And look, if you guys, a lot of you guys come in, and I see it all the time, guys who don't train their grip enough, they want to use straps and belts and everything else all the time without thinking through the fact that maybe, just maybe, they're shortchanging their grip strength, and that grip strength might actually be useful to them someday. Because the truth is, if you are using straps on anything, you might not be losing your peak grip strength because you're at least doing something with your peak sets every now and then with your full grip strength, but you could be losing like strength stamina in your grip. And there's so many real world situations, again, where there's manual labor, an emergency situation, or again, just something that happens where you've got to move some heavy stuff for your mother or your sister, or something that comes up to where your strength becomes important to where you need that grip stamina. And it can make a big difference when you find yourself in those situations. And I can think of quite a few times where it has for me, where everything from, baling hay to changing a lug nut, changing a wheel on a car like that. These things come up, and that grip strength is really important, and not just the strength, but the strength, stamina. And you're not really shortchanging yourself if you take the straps off. And I know this is a big argument, and a lot of guys say, well, I get more work on my back and these other body parts if I don't use the straps. But at the end of the day, is that really true? If you've allowed your grip to get weak because you wear straps and you don't train your grip separately, and you don't really do a lot for your grip by just not training strapless, then yeah, it can be your limiting factor. But when you get used to doing all your deadlifting and rowing and pulling and everything else that you do without these, your grip eventually catches up, and it no longer really becomes your limiting factor other than on occasion. And if you do that, not only do you end up with really nice solid forearm development, because again, a lot of guys ask me that, hey Jason, what do you do for your forearms? I don't. I just do all my pulling without straps, and I haven't used straps in years. I just don't have a use for them. And so that's one reason I have thick corded forearms, and people notice that from the side a lot, that I have striated thick forearms, and that's a result of just training with no straps, doing all my grip work just the way the exercise is intended. And that makes a big difference in your forearm development, and it makes all the difference in the world for real world activities, because when it comes to, again, most manual labor situations or emergency situations you might find yourself in, even if it's just something you have to do on a rare occasion, grip strength is probably the single most important thing, with core strength and lower back strength right behind it. So again, I would also point that out when it comes to the belt thing, and I'll discuss that further again. I already harp on belts enough. You guys know my stance there. I have other videos on it. But wearing those belts all the time is also shortchanging you on your core strength, because there are no belts in emergency situations, and there are no belts in the jungle, unless you just happen to take one with you. But hey, maybe you didn't have room on the airplane for it. But grip strength and core strength tend to be your limiting factors when you get into many of these situations. And if you're trained for that, then the same amount of gym time that you put in for whatever your goals happen to be, it doesn't matter whether you're training for aesthetics or a sport or anything else, just getting extra side benefits to your training, such as a stronger grip, actually is all around useful in so many situations in the real world, that there's no point in shortchanging yourself like that, because it really isn't going to hurt your primary goals for you to just lose the straps and to just build your grip as you go. It really, I promise you guys, it's not going to make a significant difference and give you less back development or anything like that. It really won't, to just let your grip build up to match all of it and really focus on that. And you end up spending the same amount of time in the gym, and you get a bonus performance element that can actually help you in a lot of situations outside of the gym. It's tremendously helpful, and it doesn't really cost you anything, and that's the beauty of it. I'm not asking you guys to do something extra. I'm not asking you to make some major change that's going to require you to spend more time in the gym or put more work in. I'm telling you just to throw away that $10 pair of straps and to not waste your $10, and to just build your grip strength up. And there are some fringe benefits to it, and here's what I mean on that. When it comes to neuromuscular efficiency and muscle fiber recruitment, what you actually find is that sometimes that there's a radiant effect from gripping a weight really hard. By gripping something really hard and really firm, sometimes you get an increase in neuromuscular efficiency that actually goes all the way as far as the primary movers. And so while it might be harder for you to move it because you're having to focus on the grip more, you may actually, in some cases, increase the amount of muscle fibers you recruit. So while sometimes you feel like you can't do as much workload when your grip is a limiting factor, you're still getting really good muscle fiber recruitment by actually forcing yourself to grip something really tight. And over time, that can balance out and even go the other direction. And what I mean is, your grip might be a limiting factor for a little while. You'll have to lift a little less weight or have to cut one rep or one set out on some of your pulling motions and pulling dominant workouts. But over time, when your grip does catch up, that radiant effect that you're getting could allow for, since you're no longer limited by your grip strength and you're just used to gripping it really hard and getting that better neuromuscular efficiency, it might actually give you a slight advantage over time in terms of your neuromuscular efficiency and muscle fiber recruitment. And that, in the long term, might be worth a little tiny bit of extra gains. And again, is it enough to worry about? Probably not, but people do all sorts of crazy stuff in the gym trying to get a 0.5% advantage somewhere that actually takes extra time, takes extra efforts, requires them to buy products. And in this case, what you're doing is doing something that might in the long term give you a little fraction of a percent advantage, that the only thing that you have to do is give up a $5 or $10 product and not buy it, and not waste your money on something like that. So you actually save a few dollars and get something for free out of it. That's the beauty of it. It's not requiring you to do extra work. It's not requiring you to spend more time in the gym. It's not requiring you to spend a single dollar. All you're having to do is just not strap up and actually focus on using your grip while you train, and you're getting all types of fringe benefits for free. And anything that you can get for free in life, if you can put in the same amount of work and get more out of it, with no real downside, then why wouldn't you do so? You literally have nothing to lose here and are only getting extra benefits for the amount of work and effort that you're putting in. That's a beautiful thing. You should never really turn something like that down when there is no actual real negative to it, other than maybe your hands might hurt a little bit for a little while longer, and occasionally you're going to get workouts where your hands hurt a little more. But, you know, at the end of the day, if you're deadlifting heavy all the time, I mean, you're going to get sore hamstrings and stuff sometimes anyways also. So does it really matter? I don't think it does, at least not much. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.